So I thought I'd do a little video about why most white people don't speak out against racism. This video was inspired by someone who I respect, who posted a Facebook status the other day. He said, how come all the other white people don't go so hard on the bad racist white people? You know, something comparable to how black people will work hard to debate any of the bad black people who are simply frustrated with white racism and oppression. Why don't white people speak out against their own like we do? So I'm gonna try to answer that to my
good people. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Awaken Africa and I'm your host Bemu. So on today's episode, allow me to speak about white people who pretend that they hate black oppression but they can't speak about it, right? And this narrative, it is media controlled. And I'm really glad about social media, because if you are still in the 80s, talk about mainstream media, the radio stations, the TV stations, it is really hard to get your voice out. It was really hard to get your voice out there. So there is this clip of a white man. Actually, he's very bold, and for someone of his kind to come out and speak the truth the way it is, it really takes heart and courage of the highest order. Talk about the courage that you really know or understand. A lot of people are fond of talking about segregation, slavery, colonialism, but they will not talk about the current issues or the current problems that are facing black people in the United States or anywhere in the world, especially if you're white. If you talk about it, you're a clown. If you talk about it, you're a black apologist. So these are what the white supremacists do or trying to put out there. So guys, let us watch this clip and then I'll be back with my further commentary. But before that, kindly subscribe to this channel, like this video, comment and share this video, as well as turning on post notifications. Hit that bell so that every time I post a new video, you'll be the first person to get notified about it. But right about now, we jump straight to it and I'll be back with further analysis.
Mainly because motherfuckers go on the path of least resistance, you feel me? People tend to seek pleasure and avoid pain. That's like law number one. We do things that we're rewarded for, and we avoid things that we're punished for. And in order for white supremacy to survive, people who are for white supremacy are going to be rewarded. People who are against white supremacy are going to be punished. So for anyone who speaks in favor of white people, they get rewarded. For anyone who speaks out against white people, they get punished. And it doesn't matter what the race is of the person doing this talking. It could be a white person speaking for or against white people, black person speaking for or against white people. Either way, the way you get treated depends on what your response is and what you're saying. Basic math. Take, for example, a black person who speaks out against black people. This goes way back to slavery, those who lived in the house versus those who lived the field, whatnot. Nowadays it's usually black conservatives, quote unquote, they say, who will point the finger at other black folks and say, okay, you're the problem, you know what I'm saying? We're the problem, we're fucking up. That's why we're in the condition we're in. They shift the blame from white supremacy to a supposed black moral or cultural inferiority. And of course, white folks buy this shit, you know what I'm saying? They lap that shit up because it supports some of their ingrained racist beliefs. He helps them sleep at night. He either justifies their racist beliefs that they already had, or he helps them maintain their illusion that racism is over and that, there are no racially based limits to your success in this world. And therefore, any failings you have on your part are based on your own failings. Not a system of oppression. He might get called a sellout or an Uncle Tom by other black people, but that doesn't really matter because they don't hold the power. They're not the ones who can actually hold him accountable. It's usually going to be a white person who's signing his paycheck at the end of the day. It's a white person who decides whether he gets promoted or not, whether he even has a job or not, 9 times out of 10. A lot of these dudes even have careers just speaking out against other black folks, you know what I'm saying? Because white people will pull them out. Whenever, something happens, they want to blame on white people, well, pull out the black conservatives. All right, so that's one side of it. Other side is white people who speak for the interest and for the benefit of black folks. And what happens with us? Most white people in this country either feel they have an interest in maintaining white supremacy or at minimum, in not opposing it. Because when white people do take a stand, we get ostracized for it. And if you haven't seen that happen, it's probably just because white folks who speak out in the interest of black people rarely make it on TV. We don't get called in for the interviews. You know, sure, you got some white folks who will proclaim colorblind beliefs. You know, they say we're not racist. On Martin Luther King Day, they all get around and sing Kumbaya, which is great. I'm not knocking that. But what I'm saying is, when it comes to actually challenging white supremacy in a real way or pointing out systemic injustices in this country, suddenly they're not around. Suddenly they don't want to speak about it. They opt out of the conversation. Most white folks, you know, or when they do go hard, they go hard on historical injustices. They go hard on slavery. They go hard on Jim Crow, you know what I'm saying, segregation, but they don't go hard on current systemic injustice. Only time they speak out against what's happening right now is when they're going against extremists, you know what I'm saying? Donald Sterling, they'll throw him under the bus. The KKK, neo-Nazi, skinheads, all that shit, they'll throw them under the bus. But all these people who subconsciously support white supremacy without even realizing it, they're left untouched. They always come to the defense, making excuses for them. And also the media always portrays this whole thing as a black problem as well. You know, not taking into account the fact that the race problem in this country is actually a white problem. Because white people, for the most part, are holding the strings that actually keep the shit perpetuated. And anyone who identifies too closely with blacks, we get written off, you know what I'm saying, laughed at, looked out as clowns. They come up with words. Back in the day, it was, you know, N-word lover. You know, they call us wiggers, you know, all these different words they have to dismiss and shut down basically white folks who get too close to black folks. And it's funny because on one hand, you'll see the white saviorism mentality. You know, they got these movies coming out where it's all like the white people helping out the poor black people, you know, this paternalistic idea we have. But that's a fictionalized version. The actual white folks who really put themselves on the line and died for this shit, you never hear them mentioned. They don't talk about them in Black History Month. They don't talk about it when they're talking about the civil rights movement. They don't talk about John Brown. You know what I'm saying? Hell, I can't even name most of the white activists from the past. And me being who I am, I should know. Most of us don't even know because it's hard. You got to dig deep to find that shit. And I'll tell you why. It's because they don't want us to see that. They don't want us to identify with that. They don't want us to see that as an option for us. If we look at it like black folks stand up for black folks, white folks, all we have to do is just quote unquote not be racist, you know, and just go about living our lives in comfort. Well, this is what happened. Black folks get the impression that we don't care. They get the impression that white folks just don't give a fuck because of what they go through every day and what we continuously fail to acknowledge. Or even if we do acknowledge, we fail to do anything about it or speak out actively against it. And then white folks, because we don't see other white folks standing up for it, we get the impression that it's not our battle. We're not told the story that it's our battle. You know, and the cycle just keeps continuing on and on. Hell, I've even got people close to me, people who I know are not racist in their heart, who preach humanitarian values, all this shit. They've told me this is not my battle. Why are you fighting this? People I know and love. And when otherwise well-meaning white folks tell me that this isn't my fight, I ask you a question. Why the fuck isn't it yours? How about that? Think about that.
So it has come to my attention, and this white man has really spoken the truth, like calling a spade and not a big spoon. And why am I referring to it like this? This is because for a white person to come out and speak boldly about issues affecting black people, he will be termed as a clown. And people who talk about slavery, people who talk about segregation, people who talk about colonialism, things that happened hundreds of years ago, they are the ones who get uplifted. They get the media airplay, they get celebrated out there. People talk about people like Tim Wise, talk about Jane Elliott. These are people who these are activists, white activists who are against black or who are against black oppression and they have gotten this media play. But I've never seen a white person coming out to speak about the problems of black people, the current problems of black people. Talk about police brutality, right? Talk about the inequality in the society, segregation. But there is modern day segregation. Segregation never really ended, and we've seen from Trump's administration, he is trying to bring back segregation, and you'll find no white person talking about these things boldly, because when they talk about this, they will be cancelled by their own society, and they fear like, if I speak, I'll get cancelled. Maybe they're going to bullshit me. Maybe they're not going to support me. I'll be told like I don't belong to them. So there is that fear. But when you see someone coming out to speak about it, it means that they're fed up. And for those people who don't speak, they're still white apologists. They're white supremacy. Like, there is that thing, like, I think it is the nature of human beings. If it is not affecting me, then it is none of my business. It doesn't concern me at all. I'll wait until it pains me or it brings me down. Then I will talk about that thing. And that is the problem with white people. They will never talk about racism. They'll never talk about oppression until it hurts them. Talk about the protest. Black people have always been protesting and asking for accountability. They wanted a system that is working for the people. What were white people doing? They were just sitting back, relaxing, because it doesn't affect them. They don't face police brutality. They don't face oppression. Everything is nice for them. They are privileged. But if it reaches a point that everyone now gets the problems, there is no one, don't talk about anyone who is privileged or anyone who is not privileged. This is a problem that white people are not ready, or this is a conversation that white people are not ready to have. And when you see things like this happening, and you're like, okay, who are these people? Because you might be asking yourself a question, who are these people? And why are they doing this? Right? So I think to my white brothers and sisters, maybe it's high time we change our mentality in matters how we think or how we react towards oppression and racism, because black people or people of color are already disadvantaged in the United States. Racism, I can say that the system of governance in the United States was built on the beacons of racism. So we talk about institutionalized racism. There is a video talking about institutionalized racism, and maybe I will put it in here. I'll share the link, and you will go and watch it. Talk about systemic racism. So these systems, you should be at the front line trying to dismantle these systems that enable this kind of oppression. Talk about it, acknowledge it, make other people aware about it. Tell your brother and sister, tell your mother, tell your auntie, tell your cousins, tell your kids that it is not good. It is not good to oppress people who don't have a problem with you. Okay, people who are less privileged, people who are being looked down upon by almost every other race in this world, why are you always on the constant move of oppressing them? These are the things that you're supposed to be talking with your kids, your family. And that is one way of helping us breaking these chains or breaking these systems of oppression. But if as a white person, you want to enjoy the suffering of black people, or you want to enjoy the things that are done by black people, but when it comes to you talking about the things that ail them or the things that face them, the problems that they face every day, that's where you draw the line. Then you just a white apologist. I can call you a leftist, all of those other names that maybe I should not call you, but maybe I will call you. So I think it's high time for people to come to realization that we need to stand together. And these protests, they proved. People need to stand together. People need to move together. don't know what's your take on this, but I'd like us to have the conversation going on in the replay. So most definitely, I'll ask you to leave a comment in there. Like this video so that it can be suggested to as many people as possible, and make sure that you share this video with your brothers and sisters so that they can also get this message and get enlightened, because this is Awaken Africa. Hit the notifications bell on so that every time I post a new video, you'll be the first person to get notified about it. It has been my pleasure to be your presenter for today. My name is Ben. Peace out.